Okay, I'd like to call to order the meeting of the West Bend Community Memorial Library Board for Tuesday, November 19th. May I call for an approval of the agenda?
So move.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'd like to ask for a consent agenda for the approval of the minutes from October 15 and an approval of the library expenditures for October.
So move.
Second?
Any discussion? If not, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Financial reports and fund balance update.
Not a whole lot was going on in October. We had just the $800 park maintenance for the Patrons Park Fund, and then we got a substantial donation in memory of Diane Rosenheimer. We paid out a check for family night for Janiyah Taylor. We had Packers night with Jim Rice. Actually, no, that was I think the prior month and just got left in there. And then interest income was $161.
Okay.
Questions?
Question?
Okay. There was interest for the emergency tech and library strategic fund balances. Where do you show that? There should be, we should be getting interest for those.
You mean, yeah, and the funds on the
Yeah.
first page?
But where do we show that interest? Because I don't see it in here. And I had brought this up, I think, not last month because I wasn't here, but the one before. To
Right.
see where we could, suggesting that we show it.
Because we get interest on the dollars, the money.
Right, and that interest is budgeted for every year.
But we have to show it coming in.
Right,
where
and
do
that
we-
goes into our cash investments, which is part of the operating expense fund.
But they are interest on designated funds, so that interest should be going into those funds. We talked about this
Right.
when I brought it up. So we
Right,
should
that
be showing-
interest is coming in this year, so it needs to go into the accounts for this year. So if you look in the financial statements that I put in every month, there is a line under the revenue for interest every month,
Okay, and where's that interest come, and is that the
and that
interest
comes
from
in
these
here.
funds?
Yes,
Okay, and do you designate it then? Or do you just spend it? Because if it's designated, it has to be authorized to be spent.
we budget for it.
That's not my question. If it's designated, that interest has to be spent for something in that fund. In other words,
So-
you're gonna have interest for the emergency fund.
So what
You're
you're,
gonna have interest for the tech support fund.
so what
And
you're,
that
Oh.
interest should be included or reported on this
so
statement.
Doug is saying that interest that comes in should be spread across the various accounts. and if-
Already in fund balance?
In the
Yeah.
fund balance.
So you're also getting interest on the operating expenses. And that can go into regular, where you wanna report it, but for the designated funds,
Okay.
so we should be looking at that.
And
Okay.
interest is given once a year, at the end of the year, is that
No,
when?
it's every month.
Is
No,
it
it's every
monthly?
month.
Okay.
And then I
So-
got a
Oh, go ahead.
question. Where did the 20,000 go from the tech fund? There was
That went for
10,000.
the switches.
The what?
The switches. We approved $20,000 for the switches.
The VOIP switches?
Yes.
And then do we show that as a disbursement on this report then too?
On the vouchers report,
No, on
On the change in
the
library.
changes in library funds.
no, because that comes
Why?
right from,
We should.
how would we,
Well, the same way you do it here. If we spend money, We just report it as going out.
So what you're saying is on the bottom, where like Joseph puts the checks, we've approved the money
I'm
to
not
go out.
picking on you.
No, no,
I know.
we've approved the money to go out, but we aren't really seeing it on here even though we've approved it. So I think
Right,
what
and-
he's asking is if we approve money out of the funds, just show a line, Joseph, if you could add that, so when we approve something coming out, when it actually comes out, document, see, can you take a look at that and see what you think you could do with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
You understand? I see where Doug's coming from, because the money's going down, and
Yeah.
if somebody would look at this, they'd go,
Where is
oh,
it?
who absconded with that
Right.
money?
Okay.
And then, should we be showing on this report the $100,000 that the board committed to? I don't see that anymore, because I don't know where you're gonna get it
Committed to what?
for the basement.
For the
Oh,
basement.
for the basement, okay.
Yeah, it's not on here, I'll be
Right.
honest.
So I'm saying, it should
Put it
be
on there as well.
Right.
Okay.
And then you have to decide where you're gonna take it away from.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm assuming the anticipation is to take it from one of the three funds under 21 and 126.
Correct, the
So
strategic
that should
plans.
be adjusted. And then, should we be setting money aside for the roof? In other words, we're gonna have an expenditure for the roof. Should we be anticipating that or wait till it comes in?
We are part of the CIP process, the capital improvement process,
Okay,
and those funds come from a different fund.
so they don't come from these, from 21 and 126.
No, there,
No, they're gonna come from capital improvements.
Okay.
and speaking of the capital improvement, was Carrie gonna look at getting that moved so it would be transferred so we could see the 50,000+ that the county has?
Right, it is in the reports that I print out under Fund 21,
Okay, but it's not here.
correct.
Is there some way she can get that on here? Or would we have to automatically put that on?
We would need to put that on there.
Okay, Joseph, we have a couple tasks for you.
So he's adding a
then-
line,
He would add a line to show the
The 50.
50-some thousand that the
Yep,
county
the
has.
53,687.
That the county has given us. If you could put that in as a line, wherever it's convenient, don't change what Carrie sends, but maybe something.
This information will be a lot easier just to add a line
Yeah.
down on the second page.
See, this is the first year we've ever had that money come to us. So it's something new, new and improved.
And the 53,687 is from the
The
county?
county.
For what?
Capital
Yeah,
improvements.
that's what I thought.
So then that money would be money we're starting to accumulate for.
Correct,
for like
that would need to
the
be
roof,
matched in order to be used by
Right.
the
For the,
city.
and
then
Chris has.
One other thing,
You've done that already, right? You've brought that up to the county, and they're talking when
The
they're
city.
or the city.
Actually just sent an inquiry last week asking about that, so I'll let you know when I know.
Okay, thank you. Good.
and then this report doesn't show the 41,000 for the sprinklers that you issued a check for.
Correct, because that money was approved,
But we don't show it coming out.
correct.
So whatever we have in balances here are overstated by 41,000.
The funding got transferred from the fund balance to the cash investments for the operating expense fund
When was that?
2 months ago.
And did we reflect it here?
It was reflected in the fund balance going down.
Okay, because I didn't see that. All right. That's all I've got on there.
Okay,
Very good.
we made the 10-minute time limit.
Well, and I think there are some things that may require more than 10 minutes.
Excuse me,
and
I'm
we can
sorry.
make that decision.
Public comment? No public? Oh, Joanne?
I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I wrote it down already. Okay. All right.
I had an opportunity because I had my granddaughter here this past week to attend this story hour on Wednesday. And of course I knew it was good because it was our library. But I was blown away with the quality of the programming and how Terica ran the program. There were like 30 toddlers with their parents and grandparents. And it was just a totally positive experience. It was about an hour and a half by the time it was all done. And everyone seemed to have a great time and got along well and learned a whole bunch of stuff. So I just wanted to say it's totally exceeded my expectations, and I wish I had my granddaughter more often because it was a lot of fun. So thank her for me.
I will.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to number 6, Library Director's Report.
Okay, the marketing committee has been formed and we met twice in the past month. The committee discussed creating more branding for advertisements and more about community outreach. We have reached out to the system to help us with branding. We are also looking at becoming more active members of the chamber to get the word out about the library even more. So those are the things we're looking at in that committee. Staff and myself, all of us, have been working on evaluations this month, as have you guys. So I'm not the only one doing annual reviews. I have managers in the middle that also review other staff members. So I wanted to let you know that. We had a few little problems with our boiler system this month. We had boiler pumps 1 and 2 have some things happen to them as I reported. We had a gasket fail and we had a couple of expansion joints that failed, and those have all been replaced. And we didn't have to go any day without heat, thanks to our building maintenance crew, which was a great job. The library roof, there's possibly another route we could take with the roof rather than full replacement. There is the possibility of possibly repairing the blisters and then sealing the roof, giving it another possible 10 years of life. This is being looked at by multiple contractors to get quotes to see what we're looking at, and then we can see if we need to go out to bid for that, if that's a possibility of the route that the board would like to take.
Will they say how long it is anticipated to last, or is there
10 years more from the time it's done.
So is the guarantee or not?
Like a warranty?
It's a warranty.
There's a warranty?
10 years.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Okay, I think that was,
Good.
I do want to say that we had a great program last week of the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. It was the 50th anniversary of that. We had 125 people here for that program. It was great. And we had a ton of kids here for story time, for our costume parties, and that was a big success. They have a parade around the library too, which is lots of fun to see. And if you look at our statistics, circulation is up about 2%. Electronic circulation still continues to skyrocket, and for the most part, we're seeing good things happen here at the library.
What the patron count is down.
Yes, the patron count is down a little bit, which is surprising.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're coming in the back door.
it kind of threw me in that if the patron count is down,
I
and
think,
other items are going up, maybe we ought to get rid of more patrons.
Or maybe there's something wrong with the counter.
we'll look into that. Yeah.
It just seems strange.
It is a little strange, but but it's good to see the people that are here are using our services. That's what's really good.
Any questions for Amy?
Speaking of numbers, what kind of metrics do you guys plan on using for the marketing committee? So that you can see that, a year out from now, that your marketing efforts are working.
Increased circulation, obviously,
Yeah.
increased use of our databases. We're gonna be looking at, especially Gale database, the Gale courses. I want to be able to market those to businesses for continuing education of their staff and things like that. I want to look at, things like program attendance
What about cards, library cards?
and library card issuing, those types of things, so.
How have the Gale courses been doing?
We have approximately 40 to 50 students each month, so it's not bad. It's good, but I'd like to see it grow.
Yeah,
And remember, the classes are 6 weeks,
right.
so they're a month and a half long.
It's a good program.
Anything else for Amy? If not, we'll move on to number 7, Library Board President's Report. The only thing I wanted to report this month is, last month, the Monarch Group had their trustees dinner, and we really should have, I think we should have a show of our board people going. Several of the libraries had a lot of their board members. It was a really excellent presentation.
Well, plus it was also at the Columbian, so it was here in town.
It was in town, and it was well presented. Monarch put together and I couldn't get enough of these for the board. Maybe you can get them from
I can make
Monarch.
copies.
Okay, it just shows for 2019 by the numbers, and that the library visits since 2016 have had a 2.4% increase in people coming in, and it just talked about the number of checkouts that we've had. Overall circulation for physical materials is down from last year, but circulation of children's materials is up. The summer reading program through the Monarch system had over 10,500 children participate. And I think that's just super. They've read over 4 million minutes.
Wow.
And 92,000 books. So we currently, in the Monarch, there are 230 plus board members. I would say there was probably 75, maybe not even 75. But it was a very nice presentation. Justice Annette Ziegler spoke, and she talked about the library, how the judicial system is working to do things with library type of functions and stuff. So it was very interesting. So I'd like to encourage people next year, if you get an opportunity, cost $5 for us. Wasn't a bad deal. So please keep that in mind. It was really worth it. Okay. And that said, we'll move on to number 8, old business. Number A, Monarch Library System update.
Okay, Family Fun Day at Pioneer Village had 69 people from West Bend attend. I also put in the attendance from the rest of the system library so you could see where we lie in the mix. And we had lots of people there from West Bend, so that was great. At Directors Council, the governance committee submitted a new system agreement. And that will be coming to this board next month because I didn't get it until too late. So that will be coming next month for this board to look at and make a motion to approve so that we can sign that. I will probably get that out to you a couple weeks in advance, so check your email so you can look it over and ask any questions. I don't want to just throw it in the board packet without you being able to look at it. And then the directors had a very lengthy conversation about fine-free libraries.
Yeah.
This is a big trend that's going throughout the country right now, and there are many factors that go into making that decision. So I'm still researching and learning more about it, but as you might have heard, Chicago Public went fine-free.
Where?
And Chicago Public Libraries, they went fine-free, which is,
I was gonna
Quite.
send you that link. I actually have it on my phone. Like, I wonder if.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I just wanted to let you know the conversation is starting in Monarch Library System. Not to say that we're gonna go fine-free, but there are certain steps we could potentially take to look at the issue. And, I'm still researching it myself, so just wanted to let you know where we stood.
What are your feelings on that? Yeah, I was just curious.
I've got some questions. First of all, you go fine free, you gotta come up with $33,000.
Correct.
And I don't know where we're gonna get $33,000.
Part of it would, the article would argue that people don't bring their books back because they're afraid of the fines.
That's their perception.
Right. So then we would recoup some of that money by them actually bringing the books back.
How?
Like, instead of not keeping them forever, or they're lost or whatever.
I don't
Because we have to
think-
replace that book. So instead of a 50-cent fine, right? Or because they just keep using it, they keep
Well,
it at home.
if you don't have a fine, what is the
Incentive?
motivation for someone to renew a book? None.
Correct.
Yeah.
And if you take out a book, you get one circulation. If you renew that same book, another circulation.
Is counted.
Yep.
Yep.
And so if you're saying, well, you don't have to pay a fine, they just keep the book.
Yeah.
Don't renew it, you wait, and you throw it in, and we lose circulation also.
See, I'm old school, and I think it teaches responsibility, in my opinion. My idea of that is if you don't have, if you would eliminate the fines, well, then people would just come in and say, well, gee, I like this book, or I like this, I'll check it out, and hasta la vista. So, you know, I understand where they're saying that this would be a valid thing to do, but it is gonna take an awful lot of statistics and facts to convince
Exactly.
me that this
Exactly.
is something.
Question, Deb. So what you're saying is you're saying they take it and they keep it, and that's what you're
Ooh,
saying?
you bet.
Okay, here's the thing. There's a difference between overdue fines and lost materials.
Right.
And I think what they're saying is that, you know, if you take it and you keep it, and it's $30, and it goes past whatever time it is that we deem would be considered lost, you're charged.
Yep.
And then that book either has to come back, or you pay for it.
Well, what if
As
we?
opposed to
but-
overdue fines alone.
but-
I'm just pointing that out.
Wait, no,
Yeah.
could you do an analysis and tell us, if we get 30,000 in fines, how much of that is due to overdue as opposed to replacing a
Replacement.
lost book?
I think all of that is, all of the fines are fines, or does it?
Fines are fines.
Yeah, book
that's
money,
not
that is
cost of replacing,
strictly,
so-
yeah.
That's my point, you're gonna lose 33,000.
Right.
And you're gonna
So-
lose circulation.
Yeah.
The circulation is a big one.
Right. And, you know, that's why I said there's lots of things that you have to consider when doing this. So
Each of us
it's
has
not
our
just-
feeling as it hits you the first time you see something like
Yep.
this. So again,
Yep,
it's gonna
it's a
take some
conversation.
organizing.
And it does say naysayers have argued that eliminating late fees will simply cause library patrons to hoard books for longer periods of time. However, the facts don't appear to back up this theory. The Chicago Public Library System's 240% jump in book returns may even out in upcoming months, since the new policy change is likely what spurred library goers to take advantage of their newly bestowed late fee amnesty.
Well, then I also get a kick out of this thing in that the ALA recommends that you urge governing bodies of libraries to strengthen funding support for libraries so they are not dependent on monetary fines as a necessary source of revenue. Guess what our chances would be of getting that done?
Yeah,
Yep,
so,
okay.
just
enough.
wanted, yep,
We'll keep this on and you can let us know how things go.
right.
Okay.
Well, then
Yes, sir.
from, another thing that came up is that at the last system meeting, Jennifer Chamberlain pointed out that Macmillan, in the top 5 largest national publishers, has announced a new 8-week embargo
Yep.
for all newly published ebooks as of November 1 in terms of numbers libraries and consortia can purchase. And when they first came out with that, they said consortia could only have 1 copy.
Yep.
Wisconsin, the state of Wisconsin is a consortium. So the state of Wisconsin would have gotten 1 copy. Now it's 1 copy for the consortium and then 1 copy per system. So if you want the crawdaddies, 1 for all of Monarch.
Right. So,
So people should, I'm thinking, we should be informing our patrons that this is the reason for undue delays and availability.
That's a for sure thing.
Yes,
That's
it
in-
is.
yes,
As of
Macmillan,
November
it's-
1st?
Macmillan put the embargo on.
Yeah, and it's one publishing company, but you know what will happen.
Absolutely.
It is just gonna go down the road. So we can get more copies, but we'd have to pay for them, right?
No,
No, we can't even
we
get.
can't, they will not allow access to more than 1 copy per
After
consortium.
the
Wow.
8 weeks.
After the 8 weeks, then you can buy more copies.
But
Okay.
you don't buy them.
You,
They are a lease.
Lease.
And
Leasing.
so instead of buying a copy
Wow.
that we can use for 2 years, you release it again the next year. And the lease price is significantly higher than today's purchase price.
from Amazon or from other places.
So
it's-
that'll be a big hit to the
You
ebooks.
can take, if you want a comparison, this is kind of like the drug company that raised the price on
EpiPen.
EpiPens and on diabetes medicine. They knew they could do it, and
And
you
they did.
you can see how what effect the government has had on that, nothing. So this is something else we need to be looking
Yep.
at in the future, is decrease circulation, decrease books availability. And if we want to increase our materials, we're going to have to spend more money.
This is just for ebooks?
For
The lease?
ebooks.
For leasing
For
ebooks.
Macmillan.
Yeah. I did read that article in the paper.
So more materials budget, Chris.
Going down.
Okay, thank you, Doug, for bringing that up.
All right.
Anything else in regards to Monarch?
No.
Okay, otherwise
That's
we will
interesting.
now move on to number 8, old business, the library recreation center update.
Okay.
The Amy and Nick show. Oh, I gotta move.
Rendition of the
Oh.
plans that is in a 3D CAD program, so I want you to get your eyes.
This is the printout of what you're gonna see on the screen so you can follow along. I don't know if how many of you have seen the actual floor plan, the design of the project.
It's all good.
Deb, can you do the lights? Just a couple of them?
Sure. Can't close the door though, it's an
There.
open meetings law.
That's nice.
Sorry. Oh, nice.
So this is the 3D rendition of the basement renovation project. You can see where the gray is the hallway and the lobby area. And then the dance studio and the multi-purpose room are in orange. Then the restrooms are on over there. And you can move it so you can see the
And
parts.
the rest of that then is empty basement.
Correct. And that would be, the rest of that would be phase 2.
This, the green walls are phase 2.
Would be what?
Phase 2.
Okay.
Now, the infrastructure though, the heating, cooling, that'll all be done for the entire portion, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So all that would be done in phase 1. Oh, and the mechanical room is next to the lobby area and the dance studio. So that's where that would be.
That duck chase isn't in the right place. That's the
No, it's
original,
not.
isn't it?
No.
It should be
Actually,
over,
like
Yeah.
right about there, yeah. We found a good spot for the duck chase to go.
For the what?
The duck chase that needs to go from the basement to the first floor. That is going to be moved over to right about there, where Cindy is pointing.
That's the
Um,
storage room.
And that
Yeah,
will
it's
go
in the
up
art
into the
room.
children's
Right.
area, into an open place where there's a table right now, and we're gonna butt the table up against the duck chase, and everything will fit perfectly.
Okay.
And it will be still ADA compliant.
So which of these is the elevator?
The elevator is,
Right here.
right there.
Okay,
And
that's
here's
what I was
the
thinking,
steps.
and those are the steps on
Mhm.
the outside.
That's at the front of the building.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct.
Now, the other set of steps is down there by the bathrooms, right?
Yes,
And they're accessible, okay.
That's right,
Whoa.
right there.
right there. Yep. And those stairs go up into where tech services is,
Those would be fire
then
escape
out.
areas.
out the
That's not
east
general
entrance.
access.
But now, can
Oh,
you,
okay, I see.
can you get from, let me, hold on, ask. Is there any way to get into this project area other than the front and through the lobby?
You mean the elevator and the?
Yes.
And then, is there another way, in other words, if I go down one of the back steps, can I get into the new projected area? Are there doorways or is that wall?
There will be walls.
So you can't, the only way you can get in there is to come through the front. Excellent.
Once the build-out's complete,
Right.
is that your question, Doug? Because
Pardon me?
Once the
once,
building-
once the build-out's complete,
Okay, when would the build-out be complete?
well, hopefully by the fall, at the end of the summer.
So
Not
the
this
build-out is in phase one, though?
Yes,
Yes,
the
yep,
first build
yep,
out.
yep. One quick
Wait,
point I just want
what-
to point out is
What's
that
the, what's the
when,
second build-out?
There's a phase two where the green walls are right now.
Okay,
one thing to point out is the construction, the workers bringing in their equipment, et cetera, they can use those entrances. That right, that we pointed out right there, and then move down there. So there'll be very limited, if any, interaction with the public coming in to use the library as normal, while the construction is going on and taking place. They will use those entrances
No, my
to get to
point-
their project.
no, my point is that when the first phase is done,
Yes.
the only way to get into there
Correct.
is through that front
Yep,
entrance.
once the first phase is done, the
Okay.
only way to get in is through
There are
that,
doorways
yes.
though, there's a doorway here that you can get into the open part of the basement.
And who are you?
I'm Cindy. I'm the parks project manager for the city and the parks.
Oh,
Department,
okay.
So I would be doing this
Okay.
project.
I didn't know.
Yeah, I'm sorry, so
But-
there's a doorway that's gonna be put in there, so you could get from here to there, and there's also, as part of phase one, there are gonna be doorways framed in this wall, but drywalled over, so that when the second phase gets built, all you have to do is take the drywall down and frame, put the doorway in there, so in anticipation of all of this, there's other things besides just the utilities and things that are gonna be changed.
Question, Cindy?
Yeah.
In phase one and most of the phase two spaces, all the walls align with the columns. But then as we're going over that way, the columns are kind of out there. What's the reason for not matching up the walls with the columns?
Well, right
Yeah, I
now,
don't know.
the,
That's a good question.
there's shelving in between them. So, I believe, the shelving that's there for our storage was taken into account for that.
You can see there are some, this is a column, these are the columns right here.
Right.
So they are being incorporated, like that one's in by a wall, so they're not sticking out
For
in the
the-
middle of the area.
For the library storage, she means.
Except for that location that Amy just, yeah, I think you're correct,
For the
Amy, that's
phase
shelved.
two, for the phase two part, it doesn't really matter because, heaven knows what's gonna happen in between now and phase two, and it could change. Except for the walls where the bathrooms are, and so I wondered if there was a reason for it, fine, but if there's not, I guess I wonder.
Why the bathrooms here? Is that the question?
No, why the bathroom wall doesn't match up with the column?
Oh, it does.
Well, no, this
Oh, it
one doesn't
doesn't?
right here, no.
Yeah. I think that, if we were to do that, we wanted to put like in that, see that little alcove in the classroom there?
Right, yes.
I think we were wanting to put a cabinet there for, food or a sink or something like
Right,
that.
sure.
So-
Oh, that's right.
So, that wall just ended up being there instead of buttoned up against the pillar.
Yeah, these are just proposed drywall walls, I mean, they can really
Yeah.
be, they're not structural, so
Yeah,
they
they
can be
can
anywhere.
They can be
Yeah.
moved anywhere.
Yeah, and we did want the sink next to it. Okay, got it.
In the bathroom, the stalls are kind of like a standard size for
Sure.
ADA, so you just don't want to make it bigger.
Sure,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
So this is the proposed dance studio, the multipurpose room, lobby, mechanicals,
And
the men's bathroom, and then there's a janitor's
little janitor's
closet
closet.
here, and this is where the water fountains and like water bottle filler would go. And then the women's bathroom has 2 stalls, guys' bathroom has 1 urinal and sink and all that stuff, so. It's easier to see this way.
Yeah.
And windows.
Yes,
Salvaging,
windows.
we're
Good.
salvaging these out of the mutual mall.
Oh,
Yay.
that's very nice, yeah.
So,
So then in case of a fire,
Mhm.
in phase 1, they would either go out the lobby area
Mhm.
or by the bathrooms, right?
Correct.
yeah.
And then once phase 2 is done,
It's the same routes.
so they would only be able to use those two, even though like by the other elevator, there's a stairwell, that would not
By
be
the other
used?
elevator, there is not a stairwell that's blocked off.
Oh, I thought that over there was stairs.
That goes down into the,
You could
Oh.
go this real circuitous road to go through,
Yeah.
but
That's
it's
for
not
the,
the most direct road.
Set.
Okay.
There are still 2 exits to get out. from the
Okay.
fire.
Got it.
Are there sprinklers down there? No?
Yes,
Okay,
the heads just need to be turned.
okay.
They're upside down right now, so to speak.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I do. Would you hand this, I've got a number of questions, and because of time, would you hand these out? I'm going to read you my questions. Let's not discuss them, but let me read those to you. You take that home and take a look at it again,
We need some over here, Jason.
because we're here to discuss it. We have another meeting coming up. So,
you've got one?
starting out on page 1.
You got one, Jason?
100,000 was committed by the board on 10/15. Where will it come from?
Hey,
As
Doug,
when-
Doug, we didn't know this was 2 pages, so I think we're.
Right, there's,
No, there's a back and a front.
I don't know.
Some of them are some.
Maybe you got the original?
We got the adult, you got the children.
as of
Okay.
As of 10/31, we have $500,048 in Fund 2126, emergency tech support and library strategic fund balances. Chris Jenkins suggested a 30% of operational budget for emergency funds. This is $434,902, which would leave $65,000 in those funds, $35,000 short of the $100,000 committed. If another $50,000 is needed, where will it come from? The renovation will provide 2 bathrooms, mechanicals in its room, a lobby, a dance studio, and a multi-purpose room. This is a benefit for Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec is requesting the library board to provide them a facility. Have they attempted to rent other venues? This proposal is to use library tax money for a project that is not a library expenditure. This is a capital project. Will the city pay 50%? Advantages to library per director's report of 11/19. Market programs and services to a wide range of families. How do we know most of them are already library patrons. Be able to offer more programs simultaneously. Who will do the programs? What will be the cost? And where does the money come from? 2020 budget already reduced. And the third one, the library can show films in darker space. Parks and Rec will pay rent each month to pay back funds. Nick Lemke email states, an amount of $50,000 with payback from Rec over no less than 10 years. That doesn't say that, so they're talking about paying back $50,000. The 2020 budget has a decrease in room rental. Do we need more rooms? Entrance to the basement, per Nick Lemke, will be via the elevator and door just inside the front doors, not currently used. People will not come through the counters. What are the security arrangements for that entrance to the basement? What are security considerations during activities? Who assumes liability for people in the basement? What is the effect on building and liability insurance costs? Who pays for maintenance of the area, janitorial, supplies, heating, lighting, cooling? Will there be a sharing of snow removal costs? Are furnishings included in the project costs? The lobby, the dance room, and the multiple purpose room? If not, who pays for them? If the bid is higher, who pays the additional fee? If the balance of the project is completed, will Park and Rec share in the cost? If you take $100,000 and invest at 6%, which we're getting right now, we get $6,000 a year for our budget. If you take another $50,000, that would be $9,000 in interest that we can apply for our budget. And one of the criticisms that we have received from the city has been, we should be doing something to generate more money. This is a lost opportunity of either interest or funding for library projects. Should we survey adult patrons? Spend $100,000 to $150,000 plus for Park and Rec and one multi-room, or should we buy materials? I'm not saying we should be discussing this, these are my concerns. Take them, if you want to, review them at home, we can discuss them next meeting.
Thank you, Doug. You put a lot of thought into this, very
Yes, I
much
have.
so, looking at everything.
And some good questions.
Now, I know we did get the letter from Nick regarding additional funding, but we don't have it on as an action item, so we really
Okay.
can't take a vote, correct? Or discussion, so it's just discussion.
on the agenda
So
to
it's not
take a
on the
vote.
agenda. So, any discussion on the, Joanne, Tim?
Here's my take on it without going for our references, is we need to, looking at the project, we need to decide where we're gonna go and where we're gonna come. Looking at Doug's stuff and just listening briefly, part of it's about the build out, part of it's about the lease agreement, which is a separate conversation. The build out, answers that have to be had. At this point, my recommendation is if we push this off till every meet the third Tuesday of the month, we're gonna have another full slate of a meeting. We need to have its own separate meeting. And that's my recommendation at that point. If we have all these concerns, then we really need to make a decision and have a separate meeting, commit the time to it. At one point, we had numbers in the 200,000 talking about, now we're at 100,000 and things change and there's, lease agreements and there's, payback loans and all those different types of things. We need to make a decision because the longer we push this off, the more we're gonna pay in the long run if we choose to do it.
Right.
There's outside commitments of funding potentially that are waiting to hear what we do.
Yes.
And we're holding up that opportunity also for both us and for Park and Rec. And we can sit and argue the merits if this is a Park and Rec project, a library, or shared, and that's really what should happen in that meeting at that point in time.
Does everyone have their calendar? Would you like to set a date?
Tim, do you have answers to a lot of these questions that haven't been shared?
I mean, I look at some of the lease agreements, so I look at the lease as a separate piece. You know, in terms of that, we're renting them the space. So I'm gonna pick on snow removal, and not that this is the way it has to go with them, but if they're gonna come in here and use our space, we put it right in the lease agreement. They're paying for snow removal, they're doing it, they're paying 50%, no different than if I rented a place from Chris.
So are you saying that the lease would be done after? Or would the lease be available to us before we make a final vote?
Right now, we're talking about a funding commitment to go out to bid,
To do what?
to go out to bid for the project.
Once you make that funding commitment and you go out for bid, there's going to be a perception that we're approving this. And this has been advertised at Monarch already, that we are going to be doing something with Park and Recs.
Didn't we already set in a meeting that we were gonna commit funds to this so we can go out to bid?
We had committed 100,000, but now it looks like there's asking for more commitment. That was the letter that,
Because we said we wanted to go out to bid in January, February, right, Nick?
Right, the cost estimation of the project's approximately $350,000. So Rec Fund has $150,000 to commit towards it. So if the library, my understanding that the minimum was $100,000, so we would like the commitment from the library board to be around $150,000, that puts us at $300,000. Then the idea is to take it to bid first of the year in January.
Because it's
getting close.
It's getting close.
And one thing with the prior discussion before is, you guys as a library board have to look at this project as beneficial to the library. It's not just renting space to Park and Rec.
But there aren't any benefits that I can see for the library.
There is benefits. Amy has gone to 2 Kiwanis meetings and has presented on those benefits.
And what are those benefits? You've got them in the note here, and I brought them.
Yes.
You're gonna have space for,
We'll have more space to be able to do programming in larger quantities.
but if you've already got space here, and if you're gonna do it in larger quantities, what's the budget for that? And who's gonna do it? Who's gonna pay for it? Where's it gonna come from? All I'm looking at here, people, is money. That's the only thing I'm looking at. It's not a bad idea, but I don't think we can afford it. I made a proposal or a motion 2 months ago or so that we just drop the project. No one voted for it.
Wasn't seconded.
No
The
one
motion
seconded
Right.
it, so it died. And now we're here 2 months later, and we're being asked for another $50,000. We don't have the money for it. Where are you gonna take it from? And then, we have cut materials. Materials have been cut for 3 years. And what are we here for? We're losing sight of what our priorities are, and what our priorities for money are. Is to take care of our patrons and to provide materials. We aren't a rest stop. That's an sundry item.
But we talked about, I mean, meeting maybe you weren't at, the roles of the libraries are changing in our community. Materials, like you said, the ebooks, and all these other things. We are community centers, not just come in and check out a book or a DVD. We are community centers now. And partnering with Park and Rec even enhances our community obligations and operations to serve all of our patrons.
Okay, but if you're saying that that's our role, then will the city kick in 50%? And then when we don't have any money,
I understand.
any fund balances, just a minute.
Yeah.
Then what do we do for budgeting? If we want to have more staff, if we want to have, additional functions that the library provides, there's no money for it. Do you see the city kicking in more money down the road? I don't. And I'm not being critical, Chris, but, the city has a responsibility to the taxpayers, and that's to give them the biggest bang for the buck. We haven't heard anything that Park and Rec has gone out and looked for someplace else. We have no commitment that they will give us money. It's a maybe.
So I don't want to speak for Park and Rec, but you have
gone out and looked for other options, right?
Yeah,
You've talked about that.
Yeah, we've looked at some temporary space, to replace our existing space at Mutual Mall, because we don't know the timeline of Mutual Mall, when that's gonna be up or not, so, yeah, we've already looked at secret for other space. And again, the rec fund, 150,000, there's 200,000 in the rec fund, so you can see the percentage there.
Well, it doesn't make any difference about the percentage, I'm just saying, why should the library spend $100,000 to $150,000 to bail you out?
If that's the way you look at it.
That's the way I do.
I understand your concern, but it's not, again, it's a partnership, it's a joint project.
It's a one-way partnership. Are you gonna, if we do phase 2, are you gonna pay for half of that?
Yeah, if we have the revenue, if we have the funds.
If you have the revenue. If you don't have the revenue and we wanna do it, then we don't do it. So you're looking at how many years down the road before you get to have the advantage of finishing off the other part of the basement.
I mean, that's why we're doing it in 2 parts, though. We're not.
But
doing
when
it
will
all
you
at
do
once.
the second part?
We don't have to do the second part.
Yeah,
Then why should we do the first, when what it's really doing, it's giving us one room and a dance studio. And it's one big room. It's not furnished. There's nothing there but, if I understand it correctly, carpet on the floor and 4 walls.
So the dance studio would have a wooden floor.
No, I said the multi-function room. The dance studio, I don't know if we're gonna use a dance studio.
We could just put chairs in there for a presentation or something else.
We could. Do we have the chairs? Because that's not in the budget. There's, none of this stuff is,
We have chairs and tables and stuff that we can take from Mutual Mall. Sure, that was Doug, that we have furniture, and some things that we,
But
that's
again-
your concern is tables
right,
and
but
chairs.
again,
We
the
can-
advantage to the library is non-existent as far as I'm concerned.
Amy,
Because,
can you speak to that?
I would disagree with you, Doug.
well, that's good, I wanna find out what you feel is worth $150,000 for us to spend that money for.
Well, we've been wanting to do the basement for a long time, ever since I came here.
And I have been too.
Yep.
But
And this is
I'm
one
not
way that we
doing
can
it
do
for
that.
I'm not gonna spend, I don't wanna spend $150,000 for one room and a couple of bathrooms. We're better off to leave it empty, invest the money, and get $6,000 or $9,000 a year in interest.
But we're not spending $150,000 for one room.
What are you getting? You're getting,
We're spending $150,000 if we do this for that space and to start being able to use the rest of the basement also.
no, that's not included.
So it's not.
It's empty, it's what we have right now. If you wanna use
The
it,
cost of the plumbing and the heating and the ductwork and all that, that's where most of the cost is going. It's not on the drywall and the 2x4s.
my point again, Joanne, what is the library itself garnering from this? What are the patrons getting from this?
Well, they're getting
They're getting-
programming.
They're getting
They're
But
getting-
that
space.
hasn't been budgeted for, so you have to pay for that.
Not necessarily, we could take some of our current programs and put them downstairs, and there's more space, so maybe more people would show up.
So why do you want to put them downstairs? Are you gonna get more people?
Right, why not?
You're expecting more people, it doesn't mean you're gonna get more people. Plus, they don't, if you don't want them coming through the library, they're gonna go through the door out there, and they're not even gonna get counted as people
We can-
coming in the library.
Well, then we can
We will
change
get
that,
that.
yeah, we could have them come through the library.
Right.
I'm just saying, do we want those people coming through?
Okay,
Chris has a,
go ahead, Chris.
One, to be honest and frank, I don't know if this is really germane to what we're talking about, because we've already had this vote to move forward with the project. So I don't know if we should keep beating it a dead horse. To
I guess
be honest
that-
with you.
We had the vote on
To
100,
support the project.
to
That's-
support
that's
the
what I meant.
project. So, and that's what I was gonna ask. I
That's
was
really
just
what
gonna
this
take
question-
a
That's what
roll,
Doug's bringing up, is whether we should support the
continue,
project.
and continue with
Yeah.
it. So I would like to just go around and ask, the members.
Can I say
Should
one
we-
thing? Yes, like Chris said, you guys have supported the project at a minimum of 100,000. We're very close. I mean, we're only, you know, if you go to 300,000, we're only, what, 50,000 short that, to secure it and take it to bid process. So I mean, don't lose sight of that. And of course, if you have program, whatever the program may be, library program or rec program, they're gonna be using that space downstairs, but they're also gonna be coming upstairs and using the resources here within the library. It's a Tuesday night right now, you would have much more of a traffic flow up here using your resources as a library. You certainly can come, bring them through and count them. I heard just a little while ago that the patron count is down, actually physically people coming into the library. So that would obviously be a benefit for that, so.
And yes, we've taken the vote. Joseph, I'm gonna ask each person, do you think we should continue?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes, I do, and I guess I'd like to add another point. I don't look at it as being a $50,000 short, or you asking for another $50,000. I look at it from the point of view of having another partner bringing $150,000 to enabling us to use space that we have that's been unusable all this time. And so walking away from that is something that I would not want to do. So.
Okay, Tim?
Yes.
Chris?
I'll say yes, and since Nick kind of let out of the bag and I'm going to keep it quiet. So we did approach Kiwanis, for those of you who don't know, that I'm president of Early Risers Kiwanis. We've had a couple of guys come to us a couple times about supporting this project as a signature project in the scope of helping kids. So there's nothing in stone, but we're kind of throwing around that 50K number for just early risers to give. In addition, that if we can get new Kiwanis to also chip in a little bit too, I mean, that completes the funding right there. If not,
Naming rights.
exactly. If not, even just give us a kickstart into phase 2. So I'm excited about it from that standpoint. I think there's connections, and if anything, that might be the good first step to then trickle other donations into.
Early Risers Kiwanis Dance Studio.
We'll continue to see community support, absolutely.
Cindy?
I'm going to say yes with a comment. I understand Doug's point of view, but I also realize that our libraries are changing. And we may be this may be a need 10 years down the road where services are going to have to be combined. And I see this as an opportunity, that first step in taking this forward. Libraries aren't going to be just about, books anymore. It is becoming the community service center, and if we're a part of that, we're getting this going now. More power to us to laying the groundwork for the future.
Okay. Doug?
Well, you can guess on mine.
I can guess yours, but I'm giving you, okay.
No.
Karen?
Yes.
Jesse?
I'm going to say yes.
Well, we have a majority. My question would be, we wouldn't need another meeting like Tim had suggested, but what I would like to do is ask Joseph to maybe look at our financial figures, put together where the monies would come out of our different fund balances. Amy, you can work with him and present that to the board next time as to say where the 100,000 will come, and to also look at it from a standpoint if you see other monies that may be.
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
Aren't they asking for 150 though?
Yeah,
So he had to look for 150,000.
well,
Yeah, well, I can do both.
the first was we approved the
The
100.
100,000, okay.
So then I'd like him to, in
Okay.
addition, to do
Okay, thank
an
you.
additional 50,000, what the city is looking for, and come back next month with your figures,
A proposal.
proposal,
Of where the money's going to come from.
right, of which of the counts.
We have to look at a couple options. And so if you look at it as, is it $50,000? Is it $50,000 that we ask to be paid back over time? Is it $50,000 plus another $50,000 that's paid back, the second 50 paid back over time? I think the other part that we have to keep in mind is if we build this, and when it's open, Park and Rec still pays a monthly lease fee to us. So when you talk about liability, when you talk about snow removal, when you talk about janitorial and all of that, in essence, that's a revenue for us.
Yes.
And or ways for us to reduce. So I'm just gonna use the snow plowing as an example. If all of a sudden Park and Rec as part of that lease agreement takes that over, what do we pay out for that year? What does that look like? What do we gain? How do we, those shared services piece, there's an ongoing revenue piece to this over time, where those monies can then be reallocated to go right into phase 2, and actually make that a target faster and save those monies up for that versus just letting them go somewhere else. And so I think we have to keep in mind that for us, there's money coming in after we start this project.
Programs that will exist out there will generate revenue. That revenue is going to go back into the future build-up, the expansion of the programs.
I have a
expansion
question.
of the build-up.
And you, Tim. Are you saying that we will get a monthly fee from Park and Recs to pay back the 100 or the 150,000?
Not the 100.
Not the 100, it was the 50.
I'm saying, so we've committed the 100. I'm saying,
Right.
in my mind, we have a couple options. We can say, we're gonna commit another $50,000. We could say, we're gonna commit $50,000, but we're loaning it to you. We're not committing it, we're loaning you $50,000 to get the project going, and basically, leasing agent, or the loan agent at that point. We commit 50,000 and add 50,000 on. We have some options there in that. And I think the other part that might be a good part to look at it is if between Amy and Nick and whomever needs to be involved, a base lease agreement contract. To start to answer some of these questions. I mean,
Yeah.
For my role, I know it was like when we leased from the city, Mutual Mall and what was in there. We were in charge, go back to snow plowing, we were in charge of that. That was part of our deal. What does that look like in a lease agreement? That might be nice to have for our next meeting, to start to look at a draft of what that could potentially look like. So all those questions about.
Sorry.
No, so
Draft of the lease.
when the school district
Draft
leased
lease.
Mutual
Or
Mall.
even from Tim.
Scott's.
Is it Scott? I don't know the contract, but it's contracted out, you know what I mean?
Amy and Nick.
Those types of things, you write that right into the lease agreement. And, and I think if we can have some of those things figured out, that takes care of some of it. Who you put right in the lease agreement, if
It's gonna take me 3
I don't know,
days.
some dance kid gets mad, and gets a hole through the wall, Park and Rec is paying for that repair, not the library. And you just
None
have
of
to
this is
spell
going
that
in.
out.
Just
Our
discussion,
recreation program
discussion.
covered-
We have
I know.
insurance. We're-
Oh,
right,
a couple.
See
We're all
the
over
video.
the community, we're all over the city.
I'll
Need
make
the
some
video.
points,
That's liability.
points of discussion, yes.
Okay, I think we have our answer on this. So we have some tasks that people will be doing, and we'll be looking forward to that next month. You are aware we have our commitment, and we are gonna look for the 50,000 and come back.
Thank you for your continued commitment towards the project. It's definitely good things, to be positive.
Okay. Wow, okay, that was over 10 minutes, but that's okay.
That's okay, we needed to do that.
Yes. We will move on to old business, number C. Thank you, Nick and Cindy. So we have two Cindys. Cindy Lyons,
Cindy,
okay.
yeah.
I had asked Amy to put on the agenda the library board recap, and part of the reason I wanted this on there is you're probably gonna see this on almost every agenda, because I wanna keep the budget front and forward to everything.
Is there a sheet for that? No,
No,
okay.
no, no.
I still in order, okay.
A couple of things that I think we need to do now, as the representative on the Common Council, you usually present a little update, summary. And I'm wondering if, how the board is open to the suggestion that Amy writes a summary to present that you can just present them. And what might be on that summary would be things like the Edmund Fitzgerald, we had one program that had this many people. And we had people from all over
Yeah.
Washington, Dodge County.
Yeah, we had a gentleman down from Lamira. He,
You said he was in his 80s.
Yeah, he was in his 80s. He drove down that night. I asked him how he found out about the event, and he knew the speaker, and she encouraged him to come down.
Good.
Yeah. So, I think we need to start as a board educating the Common Council and the mayor on what this library means to this community. I mean, I would like to encourage on a regular basis, even to bring one common council person in, and every so often when we have a program, a different one, of course, not the same one, that wouldn't help, but to come in and see what the library is doing, because I think it would be to our advantage from a budget standpoint that we start a selling campaign.
So what would Amy be sending to the city
Amy
hall?
would give it to Chris.
Chris, but
A
what-
small report.
Just a report of things that went on. Okay,
You know, an update, just to say,
updated, okay.
my big update still is, we have more library card holders in each aldermanic district than we have registered voters. And we have almost 800, it's averaging over 800 library card holders per aldermanic district to registered voters in those districts. Now, I understand some are children, but
They will be, though.
Yes.
they will be voters. Okay, so, go ahead, John.
Yeah, I guess, when we talked about a lot of the issues that we had on the budget this year, it became clear, I think, that some of the common council members didn't have a very detailed picture of how the library was organized, and in particular, the ways in which it was different from some of the other departments. And I think the idea of reporting on a lot of the current and positive things that we do here is great, but I wonder if we could also include in this a little bit of an educational component, just to make them aware, like things like, it's not just West Bend, we've got this agreement with the Washington County, and this is what that means. So if there's an opportunity to do that,
I think we talked about it last time, that, I mean, I absolutely agree that I think Amy should be invited just in front of the common council, maybe twice a year, just to give updates, explain how things work, and not just her, I would say every department head should, for, for an educational purpose.
And one of the things that I even brought was from the trustees' handbook, the fact that it is this group, it is Amy and this group to come up with a budget, and we present it to the common council. Then the common council goes in, they can determine and say, no, we don't like the budget. This is the amount of money we're gonna give you. But it is always up to the library director's staff and the board to say, to propose their budget. It's different than other departments in the city, where the city says, here is how much money you have. We're a separate operating budget. The other thing that I think is very important, and it was evident when we went in front of the common council, they have to realize the difference between city money and county money. There is a big difference, and they look at that as one big slush pot for spending. And I think that has to be something we teach them or educate them on. Okay? So if everyone would think about things and maybe get back to Amy and just give ideas and stuff, and we would come up with a proposal. And I think, did I see somewhere in the minutes that you had proposed, or you said we should have quarterly budget updates? Was that in there? In the minutes, I thought there was something.
Yes, from the last meeting.
I wasn't at the meeting, so, but
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
I think that is a good idea. We need to have a review, a more in-depth review on a quarterly basis of what we've budgeted and what our actuals are.
Yes.
Okay?
Year-to-date actual update.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have a question.
Sure.
I looked at the comments from the last meeting, and this is a question for you, Chris. Would you explain how we're going to recover the monies that we cut the materials budget for, where we're gonna get that from?
Yeah, and I don't have that information in front of me, so maybe Amy can back me up, but the audited results will come in April next year, and at that time, we'll realize the difference of savings that we already know we're getting this year from personnel costs. I think there's some utility costs too that we've seen savings. We just don't know what that exact number is until the audit happens in April. And then in April, this board would need to decide, okay, well, this is your carryover funds, what do you want to do with them? And it was my recommendation, and we can't bind a future board, but that board can then decide to take those funds and put it into materials.
So
That
that's,
would be carryover from the 2019 budget.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if there isn't carryover,
There will. I mean, there will.
We've done the numbers.
We did the math, I double checked with Amy,
well, then,
The bulk of it was on the personnel.
correct.
Right,
then we over budgeted when we passed the 2019 budget.
correct.
We over budgeted.
But
We
there's
did.
also I think there's also personnel
There
changes
were,
that
there were
was-
personnel
yeah.
changes
Yeah.
that, we had a position open for a certain amount of time. Actually, we had 3 positions open for a certain amount of time that we ended up saving those funds, because we weren't able to hire right away.
so that's for this year carryover budget, but that doesn't mean that every year it will be like that.
Correct.
Because if we would have people who didn't leave.
Correct.
So that money, we could determine whether it would be spend it for materials or put it in fund balance.
You do whatever you want with it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
We have to wait till April.
Yep.
So,
well,
put it on the April agenda.
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep,
Because we,
okay,
yep.
thank you.
any other questions on the budget? And thank you all for the work on the budget. It was a nail biter and a teeth puller. And stressful.
New business.
If no other questions, we're gonna move on to number 9, new business, Monarch Library System Network Equipment MOA.
MOU.
MOU. Not only is that, my eyes
It's
are
okay.
going.
Okay, before you, you have the memorandum of understanding between Monarch Library System and the West Bend Library. This is the standard MOU that was put out by the system board to the libraries in regards to the technology purchases by the system. We will be receiving a router and AP access points. And those costs are listed here. Basically, the equipment is property of the West Bend Library. We are responsible for maintaining it, which would be the maintenance costs, and the equipment is ours. We would also pay into a replacement fund so that those equipment pieces can be replaced in 5 to 6 years.
And that's,
I was trying to follow that. What is the maintenance cost?
The maintenance cost is for licensing.
much?
How much? Around $600?
600 a year?
Yes.
Okay. And then the replacement fund, how much is that?
55726?
Yes, 55726, it's in the MOU on the bottom of the second page.
and is that replacement, that's an annual cost?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And then that isn't in the budget though for 2020?
Yes, it is.
It is.
It is in the budget.
Good. Good.
I knew it was coming.
Good job.
Yep, all the costs are in the budget. So I'd ask for a motion to approve.
So move.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, new business, number B, library outreach van.
Okay, well, believe it or not, the van lease will be up in February of 2020. So I wanted to put this on our radar that we need to decide if we are going to lease again or if we want to buy out the lease. That's up to this board, what we would like to do. The van lease right now is about $304 per month. It's been a reliable vehicle for the last 4 years. It's a 2016. And it was a 4-year lease. So,
The lease payment includes maintenance?
yes, it includes a bumper-to-bumper warranty. And And we pay for oil changes and little things like
Would
that.
we, if we renewed the lease, would we have the same warranty again?
We'd have the same, probably the same warranty,
But not the same van.
but not the same van.
Well, not the same
We would
van.
get a new van. So we'd be
New?
leasing it, huh?
Like new?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yep. That's what we have done in the past. Every 4 years, we normally get a new van. I just need to know if I need to go and find information about getting a new lease or not.
I would make a motion that we renew the lease.
Release?
Renew the lease.
Get a lease.
Get a new
Lease as
Yeah,
opposed.
we don't-
Okay.
Yeah, look toward, does anybody have any
Did you get a
problems
quote?
with us?
Well, you want to get a
Looking-
second? He made a motion.
Second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is this a motion to,
Release.
Release.
To lease a new
motion
vehicle.
to lease a new vehicle? Okay.
Instead of purchase.
Yes.
We're gonna continue lease. Does
It's only
anyone
got
have,
17,000 miles.
Somebody's gonna buy it cheap on the used lot.
does anyone have any questions or concerns? Otherwise, we have a motion and a second to approve Amy looking into a lease for the outreach van. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Perfect.
Okey dokey. Okay, 2020 summer reading
I
program
stapled this
proposal.
together.
Well, believe it or not, 2020 is coming very quickly, and we are having to start to secure performers for the summer reading program already. This last year, we had asked for additional funding out of the money market account to have afternoon performers, in addition to our evening performers that we normally get donations for to sponsor those programs. As you can see in Terica's report here, we did have great attendance with the 4 performances we had at 2 p.m. on Thursdays that coincided with the 6:30 performances. And what we are asking is that the library board sponsor those 4 programs at a cost of $1,800.
Question.
Yes.
Why can't we take that money from this say, basic fund balance of 2019? Since we're gonna be able to, it sounds like we're gonna have more than enough money. And rather than take it out now, or if you need the money now, we have to wait till April.
No, we won't need the money until the performance happens,
Okay,
but we need to have the funding secured so that we can,
Contracts for people.
so we can sign the contracts.
okay, well, I would suggest we plan on taking the money from the fund balance from 2019.
But we won't know that until
Right.
April. So we need to,
We've been assured that there's more than enough.
but we can take that money and put it towards that once we find out in April, but we need to commit tonight to fund these activities, right? So she can get going on that. So when we get the funds in April, we can say, okay, we're gonna put some of that to cover the cost of this, but right now we can't say, well, we,
So, okay, now I guess what I'm saying then is if we won't get the money till April, and you've gotta have the money now.
no.
No, she
No.
needs a commitment.
She just needs a
Just need the
commitment.
Oh, the commitment, well, yeah, I'm all for the
Okay.
commitment.
Okay.
But the source of the funds needs to be from that fund balance.
So we would take a vote or ask for a resolution to commit the money without stating where it's coming from at this point. And if in April, we wouldn't have enough money in the carryover, would then
Take it from
take it
somewhere.
from the fund balances.
No, I was suggesting that we make the commitment, and since we've been assured there's gonna be more than enough money in that fund, in the fund balance from 2019, we then pay it from there.
So you're saying you want to make a motion
Well, I'll make a motion then.
to take the money
To take the money from
from
the
the
fund
carryover.
balance or the excess from 2019 and pay this
The
$1,800.
fund balance may be what we need for our materials budget.
No, Chris said there's gonna be more than enough.
I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I know we had enough to cover at least the materials deficit.
I still need something that I can write down.
Just hold on,
Well-
don't write it till we, just wait, we're
Can I just
talking.
ask, so the programming piece, so this amount was not budgeted for in your programming budget for
No.
2020?
No.
So, I mean, I already know, just from my Kiwanis hat, that you were given a little bit more money that
Mhm.
we've
And
done
those are
prior.
for-
So was that
Those are for
for
the,
specific programming? That's what I was
those are for the programs that happen through the school year.
The family night
Got it.
programs.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, this is.
These are for summer reading.
okay.
Which we need another sponsor for.
Okay,
Thank you.
so what are we asking for? I'm confused.
I think Doug is asking for the $1,800 to come from fund balance, to have that commitment.
From the
2019
2019
carryover.
Carryover, that's a better,
Yeah.
Okay,
With resolution to commit $1,800 with funds to come from the 2019 carryover.
carryover.
budget. Do we have a second? Do you have a second?
I was gonna ask another question.
Okay.
After we have a second, you can ask a question. You know the protocol.
Yeah,
You know it better than me.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Okay, Chris?
I was gonna ask, so then, if we didn't do that, what's the
Right.
option? Where are these dollars coming from?
I'd normally ask for those dollars to come from the money market account, which is the checking account that the board has from donations.
It's coming from donating.
Okay, so if it wouldn't be that, it's not coming out of any of our fund balances, it's coming out of the checking account.
That's what I would
That has
ask.
the
Just as if it was
donations.
sponsored
This
from
would
any
be
other-
the donations that,
If the carryover doesn't cover it.
Correct.
That's why I think we wanted to just make a motion to commit instead of saying specifically where it was
Where.
coming from.
yeah.
I like, my motion is that it comes from the
Yeah,
carryover.
and that is the motion right now. So what we would have to do in April, if the account isn't large enough, we would then have to look for it elsewhere.
Yes. And
Okay.
they're
Any other
I
questions?
do. If
Sure.
this is a reoccurring cost.
We should
there's a
budget.
reason why we don't budget.
Exactly.
Or we say we do it based contingent on support from outside agency. Like, that's my just thought of that this should be something that should be budgeted for going forward.
'Cause we did it
Especially when you
last
look
year.
at the numbers that I see on there, when you talk
Yeah.
about spending some money, $1,800 for that many people to come here and
Yeah.
visit, and, you know, that's exactly what we're talking about of bringing more people in here for different things. We should highlight those things and make a commitment to that in our budget.
okay.
Okay.
Add it to the budget.
Are you
For-
able, I've got a question that, I guess it'd be after the vote or whatever we do.
Okay.
That relates to
Okay.
this.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this to, via taking the money from the overage of the 2019 budget. I'll take a vote. All in favor say aye.
All right,
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay,
now I question. Is there, or do you have any correlation between circulation increase and increase in programs? Can you,
Please.
because, Chris asked, with the marketing plan,
the metric.
can you correlate that to circulation?
We
And I'm
can
saying-
during summer especially. We saw an uptick in circulation during the summertime with these additional programs.
I'm saying for the year.
For the year, no, I cannot do that right now because the year's not done.
I wonder if it's not correlated across the year, but if you took, let's say this is on a Tuesday night, like tonight, and a normal summer night, and it's not a program, what is the circulation that's averaged over X number of nights? And then you take 4 Tuesday nights that you do this, or 5 Tuesday nights, and you look at that circulation, that would be the number. That's about as apples that I can think of saying
Right.
from 4 o'clock till 8 o'clock, our circulation was this on, 5 non-days and 5 event days or whatever.
It's hard to do that in the summer because we do have a program every Thursday and every Thursday night during the summer.
Okay, but if you look out here at your circulation statistics that Amy puts together, for the children's circulation, January through May, it was like 1,600. June, it jumped to 16,000. June, it jumped to 23,000. July, it jumped to 24,000. August, it went back down to 18,000. But if you're looking at it from the prior months, you can see the jump.
What I'm saying, year-to-date. What is this?
But why would year-to-date? We're looking at a summer program and it increasing.
It's supposed to increase circulation.
It's increasing it in the months that we have the programs. It increased it
Well,
by
that
6.
would be almost obvious, that it would increase, you
Yeah.
know,
I think
But what-
Doug wants us to compare like 2018 circulation to
The total year.
2019
Got it.
circulation.
All right.
yes, thank you,
Well,
Yep, and I
think
need
we-
to get to the end of the year to compare
Right.
the years to
Yeah.
years.
okay.
All right, we are moving on.
Yeah.
Library close dates for 2020.
Okay. 2020 is a unique year. As you look at the calendar, sorry, let me get to my sheet here. First of all, Independence Day lands on a Saturday. So obviously we'd be closed that Saturday. However, all of our full-time and many of our part-time staff do get paid. And if we're closed on a Saturday and not the Friday before, they would all gain a floating holiday. And this would happen again in the Christmas and New Year's. I'm proposing that we take that holiday on the Friday before, as City Hall does. And then on Christmas, we'd be closed the Saturday after Christmas, and for New Year's, the Saturday after New Year's as well.
And I think that makes sense. It
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah,
pay
that's what most
to
people-
fire it up for 5
Will that
hours.
have any impact on students? Would they be looking to use the library when they're home?
No.
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 Not during the,
Generally, these dates, I look at this as what most businesses do.
right.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
either the one or before or after, so the
Yeah.
parents are gonna be off, the businesses are gonna be closed. Just around in the industrial park I work, this is just,
And you see
Yes.
that, I think of summer, I know summer reading and everything else.
Right.
There's- Throughout the day, the fluctuation of people coming in and out change. When it's Christmas break, winter break for us, or spring break, do you see an uptick of kids or not?
No.
In families? I mean,
Not
that's-
during the winter break, not as much as spring break, because we do a staycation for spring break.
Okay.
But it really dips down come
I
Christmas
just
and
think
New
of
Year's.
families and traveling and all that around that Christmas, you've got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so if I'm traveling, why am I coming back? That's it.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'd make a
Amy is,
motion, we accept it.
okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Amy's schedule. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okey dokey. The next library board
I'm
meeting.
sorry, who first? Who's right?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm too,
You were first or you were first?
Doug was first and Cindy was second.
I'm
She
sorry.
jumped right in.
I just, because it
That
was
was a
a motion.
race.
I know we all,
And Karen was daydreaming. No.
I get up at 4:30, so I'm like, oh, my brain's, okay. Okay, we're on next.
Okay, next regular meeting is Tuesday, December 7th.
Task review. Yeah.
Okay? And then we will look at the library board dates for next year. Everything is the
Everything is the
same.
second Tuesday, or the
Third.
third Tuesday of the month. The holidays did not get in the way.
Excellent.
So that we don't have to accept. That's just per the
It's just
bylaws.
Per bylaws.
All right. Sign task.
Oh, yeah, we're in closed
Jess.
session too.
So we've got, Joseph, you're gonna add a line to show the 53,687 that the county's given us, and to show the breakout of the interest for the accounts. And then you're gonna look at the numbers and see where we would get the 100,000 and the 150, both numbers.
100 and then 50.
Oh, sorry,
Not,
not 150,
Right, well-
50.
a total, you knew what he meant, but this is in her,
Oh,
so.
yeah, I see
we
what
wanna
you're,
make sure
I
that-
see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And then Nick and Amy will draft up a lease agreement.
Amy, it may be worth asking a city for a copy of the mutual
Yep.
agreement.
Yep.
Oh, good idea.
That's a good idea.
Okay, is there anything else on the task? There's quite a few. We gotta get Doug some tasks.
Home early. Let's go home early.
Maybe should I expect some sort of brief summary to present at the next
Yes.
meeting?
Next meeting is Monday, correct?
No,
No, I
no,
don't
no.
think so.
That's a holiday week,
It's a holiday
it's
week.
Thanksgiving
Okay.
thing. So, yeah, if you could put something,
If you could let me know when the next one is, thank you.
okay.
And that's a task too then.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Based on that, we are no, I know, we're going into closed session, but we won't need you because we will be done. So I would like to enter a motion to adjourn into closed session pursuant to state statute section 19.851C, considering employment promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibilities. And this is the library director's evaluation.
So moved.
So move. Do I have to do, you had said sometime we had to.
Roll call.
Roll call. Joseph.
Aye.
Joanne.
Yes.
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we
Mine
forgot.
is a yes, but we'll have to wait for Doug. He will be back.
There he is.
Doug, we've
Doug.
entered into a motion and we're waiting to go into closed session. We're waiting for you to say aye.
Aye.
We are going into.
Me?